Now on BBC Two, here's Nigel Starmer-Smith with this week's Rugby Special.
Twickenham basking in the spring sunshine, where in 3 weeks' time, of course, the final round of the 1987 Five Nations Championship will take place, England versus Scotland. Let's only hope that it's a more satisfactory occasion than England's last performance in Cardiff on Saturday. But in fact, we're just across the road here at Stoop Memorial Ground, home of the Harlequins, to watch the semi-final of the Thorn EMI County Championship between Middlesex, who won the title no less than 8 times, and Cornwall, pride of the West Country, who came through from the South West Division, but they've only won the title once, and that was back in 1908. So highlights of that game coming up in a moment, but first we're going to travel north of the border for a top match in the First Division of the McEwen Scottish Leagues. Watsonians against Selkirk.
The experienced nucleus of this Selkirk side, who lie 4th in Division 1, is represented by their 4 capped players, Ivan Tucolo, John Rutherford, Gordon Hunter and Ian Paxton, and by their veteran forwards, Paul Tomlinson and Rob Brotherston. But there is a leavening of young fellows, the talented Rodney Pow, the 21-year-old prop Scott McComb, and the youngest in the side, the 19-year-old lock forward Keith McConnell. It's a side committed to flowing rugby, and it's led by the 27 times capped Ian Paxton. A very young Watsonian side leans on the experience of their 3 international backs, Gavin and Scott Hastings, and the evergreen Ewan Kennedy, as well as their established hinge of Gordon Forbes and Stuart Johnston. The oldest of a youthful pack is the 25-year-old Alistair Haggart. Brian Huntley and Alan Murray are 20, Christian Hogg 21, and the youngest afield is the 18-year-old prop forward Andrew McMurray, making his senior debut. Youth, mobility and experience go hand in hand with Gavin Hastings at the tiller in this, his 100th match for Watsonians. A schoolmaster from the Bay of Plenty in the southeast of Auckland, New Zealand, is the man in charge today, Keith Lawrence, who had charge of the France-Scotland game and will take charge of Scotland-Wales in a week's time. So Rodney Pow gets the game started for Selkirk, right down to the stand-off half for Watsonians, Gordon Forbes. And so the game gets up to a very orthodox and conventional start. But there's a slightly different one with Ewan Kennedy taking the quick drop out and finding a touch there in front of the Mire side stand. The conditions are pretty good here. The pitch is in very good order. It's a bit cloudy and a bit cool, a stiffish breeze blowing, but otherwise splendid for open rugby football. And this the match between the teams who are 3rd and 4th in Division 1. Throw in by Ian Jeffrey. Up there went Brotherston. And Stuart Johnston waiting there for Watsonians, but a loud blast. And round on the wrong side. It's Gavin Hastings. Wind pulled that back in. Rodney Pow. And it's pulled that one as well. This is Hastings. Stuart Johnston, almost up to the Selkirk 22, taken on by Clive Miller, the flank forward. Stuart Johnston again. And so that was a typical bit of play by Watsonians when the opponents don't find touch. 9 times out of 10 they open out. And Stuart Johnston, number 9 there, very much in that move. Hunter did it well. Ian Smith. Gavin Hastings. Here's the up and under. Rodney Pow waits, but Ian Paxton's there. Ian Smith got a foot to it, and there was an offside situation there. The big prop forward Andrew McMurray was in front of his own man. So there's John Rutherford, most experienced player on the field with 39 caps. And yes, Gordon Forbes didn't know just quite where the touchline was, so John Rutherford's kick was in the end a good one. So don't try and work out the codes because half of the forwards gone. Gordon Hunter, beautifully away to John Rutherford. Back inside to White. Andrew White, a lock forward, playing as a flanker today. Hunter, Rutherford. Lovely chip, Ian Smith takes it, caught by Tukalo. Selkirk up in numbers there, and that was good covering by Alan Murray for Watsonians, and Selkirk went over the top. And so there's Ivan Tukalo, who got his lovely try against Ireland. Picked again to play against Wales next Saturday. Gavin Hastings. Pow judged it well. Exciting player, Pow, but oh, there was no way through there. That was the kick on by Tukalo. Stuart Johnston. And this is typical Watsonian play. Here's Ian Smith, the wing. Back inside to Gavin Hastings. The power on the run to Scott Hastings. Scott Hastings is away. This is going to be a marvellous try. Chased by Gordon Hunter. But just as in Paris a week ago, the older brother Gavin gives his younger brother Scott Hastings the try. And Watsonians are in the lead 4-0, 6 minutes played. It really was a typical bit of Gavin Hastings running, taking the ball from Ian Smith, breaking the tackle, and then the beautiful pass to his brother Scott with very little room to work in, but with all the pace that he needed to get there. So the younger Hastings scores the try, and the older Hastings tries to convert it. And some great scoring this season, 137 points, Gavin Hastings, and there's another couple. So that's a very good start indeed for Watsonians. Not for the first time, the two Hastings brothers producing the score, 6 points to 0, 7 minutes gone. John Rutherford restarts. Just over. Not far. And Watsonians decide to take the scrummage rather than have the kick again. So there's Billy Rutherford, the younger brother of John, just he's 30 now. Stuart Johnston to Forbes, to Ewan Kennedy. Ewan Kennedy stands up well in the tackle. And it's Stuart Johnston again. No way through there. Christian Hogg, the big blonde forward, went in, but Hunter's got it. Out to John Rutherford. John Rutherford tackled by Haggart on halfway. Wright trying to fetch it for Selkirk, but nicely fed out now to Forbes. Kennedy. Gavin Hastings once more. Look at the acceleration with the big fella, clean up the middle of the field. Broken another tackle. Nicely out and along the line there, the dummy, and Stuart Johnston going. Out there to Jamieson. Jamieson the scorer. And what a start Watsonians have made to this match. Gavin Hastings again doing all the running. Some superb mazy running by the big fellow, coming in off his right foot. And then the linkage was there, and Jamieson had the strength and the pace to get to the line. Well, a super try by James Jamieson, but the conversion by Gavin Hastings missed, leaving the score at 10-0, 10 minutes gone. Once again, Selkirk going over the top, and it's a penalty to Watsonians, well within kicking range. But just let's see what they do. Well, Gavin Hastings hasn't gone for the goal. Rodney Pow didn't quite get underneath it. May still be suffering a bit, Rodney Pow, from that knock he got a little bit earlier. Stuart Johnston. Clive Miller had broken. He's a dynamic flank forward, Clive Miller. Now it's Stuart Johnston to Forbes. Forbes thought of the drop goal, changes direction. Back inside to Murray. Good, fast work by the Watsonians forwards. Now it's Forbes. Little dummies all over the place, and that's meant for Ian Smith. Pow there. Did he get his body on top? But there was an offside. Offside decision against Selkirk. And Rodney Pow obviously under handicap. So Gavin Hastings, who's made some contribution to this match so far, and with this penalty attempt, didn't quite hit it dead right, but it's good enough. It's another 3 points for Watsonians, and they're leading by 13 points to 0, and they've played 25 minutes. And Selkirk just desperately keen to get back into the match with a score. Poe. Gavin Hastings. That's clever. Look there, Scott Hastings took it, and they'll be a little bit peeved there. They're brought back. I think one of the players may have been onside, or maybe he was over the line. But look, Scott Hastings, quick as anything, takes the tap. And they're saying, well, we tapped it over the line, and certainly there's no reason why it shouldn't go. Gordon Forbes has a little chuckle, and a wee aside to the referee, so good spirit out there. And there's the orthodox one. What a pity that couple of little bits of enterprise were spoilt by just slight technical faults. Great wrestling there by Christian Hogg for Watsonians, and it's a penalty to Selkirk. Watsonians going over the top. And Selkirk are going to ask Rodney Powe to kick for goal. Watsonians contemplate what went wrong. Powe stroked it well. It's a good kick. So a bit of a lift for Selkirk there. 13 points to 3. They're behind. They've played about 28 minutes. Well, there's one fella who couldn't care less what's going on the field today. He's practicing for the Grand Prix. Just on halfway. Andrew White has broken for Selkirk, but the forwards decided to turn it and take it away. Now it's Gordon Hunter. Oh, super tackle there by Ian Wood. John Rutherford beautifully out to Powe. Malcolm McDougall over the 22. And a good tackle there by Ewan Kennedy. So a typical sharp thrust there by John Rutherford opened up the way for his fullback. Stuart Johnston, who, as I was telling you earlier, is built like a middleweight boxer and very, very powerful. There he is. He'll play for Scotland one day, this lad. I think perhaps a bit of criticism of his service. Just needs to quicken that up a bit, but he's got most of the other attributes of a really good scrum half. A pick-up by Ian Paxton. And after the tackle, going down, and that's not allowed. Rodney Powe there. Can he cut the deficit? Oh, he's striking them absolutely straight on. Two very good kicks by Rodney Powe, and that really does get Selkirk back into the match. 13 points to 6 Watsonians lead. They've about 5 minutes to go to half-time, and that's certainly brought the crowd to its feet as well. Gordon Forbes. Take by Paxton. Somebody going round in front and blocking the way. Gavin Hastings then, the Watsonians captain. High enough. Oh, it's a good one. So they're really popping them over, no bother at all. 16 points to 6. Watsonians lead. They've about 3 minutes to go to half-time. Rodney Powe again, who's not quite like himself since he got his hair a bit longer. Now this is one he can run. Good return. There, Keith McConnell, the 19-year-old. And he's gone right back to second from the end. Ian Paxton, Tomlinson again. Hunter strong in the break, gives it to Rutherford. John, feet inside there, taken on very well indeed by Andrew White. Loud blast, but simply that the maul had gone down. But that was a lovely bit of play and very typical of Gordon Hunter. Found the space, got into over the gain line, found John Rutherford, and Andrew White, the big number 6, was there. So that Ewan Kennedy punt puts play up to halfway again. Right at the tail for Watsonians is number 7 Clive Miller, who's pretty close to international contention. One of those very fast tail gunners. Watch him, he's standing off now, but if Selkirk win it, you watch the pace at which he'll go at John Rutherford. Now, here he goes. See? Farmer, pretty quick, put pressure on him. Scott Hastings with the catch, caught by Johnston. Fed out from Forbes, along to Smith. This is Gavin Hastings. Gavin Hastings, back inside to Miller. Miller to Smith. Beautiful rugby there. Miller again. Now it's Ian Wood. That was superb stuff, and Selkirk have killed it. Trying to handle in the ruck, I think. And in doing so, they prevented fair release. But that was a lovely bit of play with Clive Miller very prominent, Ian Smith as well. Nice little basketball touch as they moved it forward. And all they were looking for was to win at the breakdown point. Oh, it's a superb kick, that one. No doubt about that one. He turned away as soon as he hit it. He knew it was spot on. Whistle goes for half-time. It's been a good, fluent first half. 2 splendid tries for Watsonians, and they're well in the lead. A lead, nice one, of 13 points, 19 points to 6. So Gavin Hastings gets the second half underway with that siege gun kick. Rodney Pow with the touchdown, and John Rutherford signalling. But in fact, Gavin Hastings will see that John Rutherford decided to take the kick himself. Lovely high ball, up goes Paxton. This is Hunter. Just out to Rutherford, Billy Rutherford, almost clean through. A very good fall by Stuart Johnson Wood. Out to Miller. This is Watsonians at their best on the counter-attack. Gavin Hastings with a kick through. Back goes John Rutherford. And so that was a typical example of typical Watsonian play. One moment their opponent's attacking, the next the ball goes loose and the counter-attack comes in and they make 50 or 60 yards. I've seen them do it so often. Indication as if there was deliberately taking them all down, was it? Now Hunter leading on to Paxton. Offside. There's Remo Mashiosha, who's the tight head brought forward, and once again on they go. Ian Paxton. Watsonian 10 metres line. Pick up and drive by Paxton. Oh, and he gets through. What a game he's playing. Nicely picked up by White. And good work by the Selkirk forwards. They really are waxing strong now. And Gordon Hunter annoyed there as Clive Miller came through. And the offside decision goes against Watsonians. How then? Nice little chip. No great follow through, just like a little wedge shot. And well, it's 19 points to 9, and they played about 8 minutes of the second half. And certainly Pow's opportunity of kicking the penalty goal stems from the work of his forwards. They did it virtually on their own. Now, plenty of hard endeavour down there, but nothing much in the way of back play being stitched together. It's hard enough, but it's not particularly spectacular at the moment, mainly because Selkirk have switched their tactics a bit to forward drive. Stuart Johnson, Forbes, Kennedy, Scott Hastings. Good tackle by Wright. Stuart Johnston again. A lot of bodies falling over it. Now it's Hunter. John Rutherford. Outside his man beautifully. Good tap tackle there by Jamieson. The feed on to Rodney Pow. Pow almost up to the line. A super tackle again there by Jamieson. He's a useful wing, this lad on the left. And so Selkirk, I think, deserve perhaps a bit more than their 9 points. Still 19-9 adrift, and they're almost into the last quarter of the match. Free kick for foot up. Now, what will Selkirk do here? They're going for the try. Yes, they've got a forward move on. Now, Paul Tomlinson is number 3. Hunter, Brotherston, McConnell, Rutherford, the feed on to Hunter. Hunter clean through, gives it on to McComb. A great try for the prop forward. It was a lovely tap penalty move. Gordon Hunter in the move twice. John Rutherford as well. And then the prop forward appeared, McComb, and blump, over he went. Rodney Powe then. Yeah, no flamboyance about his goal kicking close in at all. Very short backlift, as they would say. 3 penalty goals and a conversion for Rodney Powe. He's now scored, what, 138 points this season. And Selkirk are really back in the game. John Rutherford, just as he did for Scotland against Ireland, remember? On his own 22, almost all the way through. Billy Rutherford. That's an awkward ball for John Jamieson. Gavin Hastings. Beautifully out there to Gordon Forbes. This is what I was saying, Watsonians attacking out of defence. Ewan Kennedy, but it's loose. The kick on by Andrew White. The pick up by Scott Hastings. Up to the Watsonian 10 metres line now, but it's Johnston all the way along the line. Now it's Gavin Hastings on his own. Gavin Hastings cutting inside Johnston. The pick up by Scott Hastings. Oh, a lovely pass there to Wood. Ian Wood over the 22. Brilliant running by the flanker. Johnston gives it inside. Scott Hastings upended there by Ducalo. The drive over, but he lost it. Well, I tell you, that was a superb bit of work there involving Ian Wood, especially the 19-year-old Watsonian flanker. He really made a lovely run, cut back inside, got it out to Johnston, and they came so close to a score. Well, that really was joyous rugby to watch. The attack out and then the counter-attack and the near try. And here Watsonians going again as Ewan Kennedy feeds on to Forbes, taken by Gavin Hastings. Oh, what a score. What a score. That really was inch-perfect stuff. And the Watsonian support very pleased with that, as they're entitled to be. It really was superb stuff. The loop move by Forbes going on Ewan Kennedy, and then in came the big fullback, and there's no way of stopping him from that distance. And that Gavin Hastings' 11th try of the season, and a stuff for a fullback. Taken by Andrew White, trying to feed Paxton. Stuart Johnson is away. Feed into Gordon Forbes. Ewan Kennedy, no, it was Gavin Hastings, back inside from Smith. Still driving on, and Gavin Hastings has scored his second try. Well, I tell you, you have to nail him to the floor, because you leave him on his feet and he does that kind of thing. In the move a couple of times, linking up with the winger Ian Smith, and then seemingly engulfed and yet bursting out the other side and scoring his second try of the match. Gavin Hastings. Oh, the stand crowd knew that it was there as soon as he smacked it. "29 points to 15 Watsonians lead. And there's Ewan Kennedy. What a joy for Watsonians to have 3 international backs in their back division. Taken again by Wood. Stuart Johnston, Forbes, Kennedy. Kennedy driving on, almost to the posts. He laid it back well. But Selkirk, yes, as I said, Ewan Kennedy laid it back well, but Selkirk transgressed by killing it. Now, what's Gavin going to ask them to do? What we do, fellas? Have a little go for a try? Yes. Here it is. Stuart Johnston, Clive Miller. And it's been a lovely match to see. Plenty of movement. As I say, both of them right up near the top of the table. Stuart Johnston again. Oh, all the way. He's done a hat-trick. Gavin Hastings with his third try. 25 points he scored. Would you believe it? What a clap he's getting from the crowd. Yes, it's Hastings again, he's saying. Referee's whistle goes for the end of the match. And Watsonians have run out attractive winners of a splendid match by 35 points to 15. They hold their third place behind Hawick and Kelso in Division 1. This is their fifth win over Selkirk in 8 National League meetings. And Watsonians now draw further ahead with this 34th win in what was the 50th game between those two clubs. The men of Myerside going well. And Gavin Hastings, the captain there, well, what a day he's had. 3 tries, 3 penalty goals and 2 conversions in victory by 35-15.
Gavin Hastings and his side triumphant in an entertaining game. And we'll be hearing from both the Hastings brothers and from John Rutherford a little later on. But now let's turn our attention to the Thorney MI County Championship semi-final here at the Stoop Memorial Ground. Cornwall bidding for a first appearance in the final since 1969. Middlesex, they of course were champions 2 years ago. And let me tell you that if England rugby was on trial this weekend at all levels, that both these sides, in a game of great commitment, acquitted themselves with tremendous honour. So Cornwall come out with plenty of support to back them, coming through by beating Berkshire, Somerset and Gloucester, and led by Grant Champion, a Cornish policeman with some accomplished backs around him. Full back is Royal Navy's captain Chris Alcock, and a wealth of experience at half-back in the Camborne pair of Nigel Pellow and Robert Mankey. Red Ruth provide the front row, as you'd expect. They're hard. But keep an eye especially on the massive schoolboy in the second row, Martin Hagg, and a tearaway back row trio. Middlesex qualified by beating Surrey, Kent and Eastern Counties, and with a clutch of well-known names, led by Paul Jackson of Harlequins, one of 7 Quins in the side. 2 internationals in the lineup. In the backs there, Nick Stringer at fullback, Rob Blazowski in midfield, and a lot of talent and pace in the 3-quarter line. Up front, well, it'll be a battle royal in the second row with the captain of the London division, Colin Pinniger, alongside the 6'7" John Howe, and a formidable front row trio as well, which gives the promise of a great forward battle. And the top man for the job today, Fred Howard of England, Liverpool Society, and of course on England's World Cup referees panel of 2, with Middlesex in the narrow blue hoops against the black and gold of Cornwall. A sound opening clearance out on Cornwall's, or just short of Cornwall's 10-metre line. So look for number 4 on the Cornish side, Martin Hagg, and Tony Cook, only an inch shorter than him at 6'5". Well won the middle of the line-out by Howe. Middlesex set up the drive, just about 10 metres outside the 22. Kingston, with Rigby standing off. And a penalty as Cornwall, over-eager, go offside. And Fred Howard, no hesitation to give a chance for Mark Fletcher to open the scoring with just a minute played. Scarcely a breath of wind for this opening penalty goal attempt. Perfect playing conditions. And this is the Harlequins' top point scorer, Mark Fletcher. May have hooked it too much, he has. Some ironic cheers, as you'd expect, from the Cornish supporters who outnumber the Middlesex camp by, I'd imagine, something in the order of 10, maybe 20 to 1. Mankey, rather loose, but it'll fall all right for Champion. Well played. Back to his pack, setting it up on the Middlesex 10-metre line. It's Mankey again. Well taken by Weeks, up to the 22. still in play. This is Pello, through to Champion. And Chip and Chase gathers it in himself. A tackle in from Pinniger. Tremendous spirit and endeavour from Cornwall. It's certainly causing problems for Middlesex. Cullen, Fletcher, Azowski, Stringer on the dummy run. This is Charlie Smith. The move breaks down as Bowden kicks through, followed in by Champion. Back to the halfway and Cornwall in possession again. And the pack doing good stuff. Rogers, held by Lazowski. Black and gold jersey still there though, insufficient strength. This is Pello. Good work by Alcott. Pello once more. Still dropping in play. And O'Reilly relieved to just run it out. The line out just a couple of metres beyond the Middlesex 22. Cornwall's throw through Tregunning. Chakis there trying to work it back. The former England Colt. And still the forward tussle goes on. Mankey has it just over eager, but Middlesex have obstructed and given Cornwall their best chance so far of opening the scoring in this match. So can it be a captain's example now from Grant Champion? The Devon and Cornwall policeman plays for Truro. 28.5 minutes into this first half, no score. Will this be the first? Thumps it hard and through the post. So the flags aloft. Does Cornwall take the lead? Jackson at the tail for Middlesex. Cullen with Rigby standing off. Setting it up once more. Fletcher. This is Atlazowski straight to Smith. O'Reilly now with a good handoff. O'Reilly looks for support inside, goes on the wide outside. Pello covers and the ball in touch. Steve O'Reilly of Met Police, who's taken over successfully from the injured Simon Smith. Again using Jackson. Cornwall are offside. So this should be a straightforward enough chance for Mark Fletcher to level the scores. So it's Mark Fletcher, leading point scorer for Harlequins this season. As you can see, just about on the 22. Trying to make it 3 points all. No problem with that. So to level it with just about 6 minutes plus injury time of this half remaining. The brand new scoreboard opened today by Harlequins for this important occasion. And a fine clearance from the winger to bring the half-time whistle, stirring stuff up front, and a penalty apiece is just about a fair reflection, so everything to play for in the next 40 minutes. And there, back from his travels with World Cup matters, of course, very much in sight, chairman of the World Cup Committee is the president of Cornwall, John Kendall Carpenter, and of course himself a great name in Cornish colours over the years. So, both sides with an equal chance at the moment of a place in the final on April 11th. But here comes Glyn Williams for Cornwall. Tremendous start to this second half. It's Mankey. Williams again. 6 metres out. crowd really trying to lift the Cornish back to win possession here. He waits but denied possession, but that was sterling work that's got the crowd on their feet. Fletcher quick to restart. Alcock trying to set up the counter-attack, but quickly in was Rigby. And away by Kingston. Fletcher, Lazowski. This is Dent. This is Stringer in the line, and now O'Reilly. Great counter-attack this by Middlesex. O'Reilly trips over Alcock, the ball in touch, and the referee decides that there was a deliberate taking of the legs away there. And Cornwall retreats as Middlesex have a chance of points. One success, one missed penalty goal. It's now Middlesex's chance to go ahead. Mark Fletcher. It's there. So, just 5 minutes played of the second half, and for the first time in the match, Middlesex lead. Good work at the front of the line again, the big number 4 there. And he's now acting as link man. Tapello. And another high ball. Stringer waits. In comes Rogers. And with him goes Champion to score the try. The captain's try for Grant Champion from a superbly placed high ball by Nigel Pellow. Well, a classic up and under by Nigel Pellow. And he's bombarding Stringer with a few like this afternoon. And just look at the two centres, Rogers and Champion going in. It was Rogers really who made the opportunity, the ball falling for Champion. And with wind in his sails, no one was going to stop him as he scored by the post. And look at the sheer delight for the hundreds of Cornish supporters who've travelled up over many an hour to give voice and heart and a few toasts by the look of it to their team today. Captain puts the conversion over, and it's 9 points to 6. 12 and a half minutes into the second half. Pellow miscuing that time. Rigby, now Jackson, Fletcher, Lazowski, Smith, Dent, clung to by Weeks. Support though from Charlie Smith, and that's a useful ball. Smith only 10 metres out, but the cover's there, and Pellow manages to get away as Cullen bundles him into touch. Jim Thorne waits at the front with John May. Loose ball, a chance for Cullen. So no sooner had the celebrations died away than Cullen makes the most of that luck of the bounce there, really, that gave him free passage round the front of the line out. On the touchline, Fletcher. What a fine kick.
The try for Middlesex was scored by
Cullen to Fletcher. Well, it's been a day of up and unders. And Bowden in trouble, just short of the line. In was Lazowski, Mankey to the rescue. Cornwall with their backs to their own line. Middlesex with the put-in through Cullen. Held by Jackson. Going for the pushover. Cornwall holding them up, but danger's on the wheel. Fletcher comes left, has a sally himself and darts through, and that could be it. Mark Fletcher sending the defence wider out, just sufficiently to be able to check back inside and cut through for the try that may clinch the place in the final for Middlesex, as we've only about 5 minutes remaining. Well, the Red Rooth front row have not let this side down. Penalty to Cornwall. And that'll come in 15 metres as Middlesex are penalised for obstruction, and one senses this is absolutely critical now for Grant Champion. A vital kick for Champion, and he's got it. So that keeps hopes alive, but Middlesex happily placed as we move into injury time at the end of this match. 16 points to 12, Middlesex lead, 2 tries to 1. Fred Howard, one of the England World Cup referees, just checking the binding on this near side. Cullen waits as Jackson holds it in the back row. And here comes Fletcher left again. Is he going to do as he did just now? He's through, I think, and has made it to put the match beyond doubt. In injury time, Mark Fletcher, what a solo performance in many respects this has been, with 2 tries by him to add to 2 penalties and a conversion. This time he just that little check and shimmy as if to go inside like he did last time for his first try, but this time just kept running straight on the wider arc to take him over the line, and I think for certain now one could say bring Middlesex triumph and another county championship final. It's now 20 points to 12 in Middlesex's favour, and Cornwall aren't finished yet. Those who've travelled up have certainly had a brilliant display, and here goes Bowden. Johnny Bowden. Well, it really is a valiant effort. Bowden, the winger. And I wonder, will this be the last play of the match? It's a tremendous effort from the touchline by Champion. But alas for Cornwall, it's their final flourish. 20 points to 18, and they're perhaps the most disconsolate man on the field, Grant Champion, who certainly played his part in making it a superb second half performance by both teams and a rousing contest. But it's Middlesex who go through to bid for a 9th triumph in the county championship by the margin only of 2 points. Fletcher was their hero, 2 tries, 2 penalties and a conversion in a tally of 20 points to 18. And I'm sure for all those who travelled up from the depths of the West Country to show Cornish rugby is in great heart, as we saw in a splendid, valiant defeat by them today. But it's Middlesex nevertheless that have won through. So Cornwall beaten, but with heads held high in a splendid contest. Middlesex then through to face Yorkshire in the final. And the story of how Yorkshire came to beat North Midlands, let's go now to the Reddings as we hear from Mike Heel.
The margin of 4 converted tries to 0 suggests a one-sided contest, but it does not do justice to a North Midlands side that made the visitors work for every point. The game was full of movement, with both sides determined to stay on their feet and keep the ball available. In this department, Yorkshire possessed the greater cutting edge, and 2 tries from centre Bentley and solo efforts from prop Whitcomb and fly half Andrew, all converted by Adamson, took Yorkshire through to the final. England coach Martin Green was present at his old club, and certain to catch his eye would have been the play of both back rows and the promise of Yorkshire's David Holmes and John Bentley.
So Middlesex against Yorkshire it is then on April the 11th. Middlesex champions in 1985, Yorkshire, who last won the title way back in 1953. Well, of course, there are other important games being played today, one notably, and that was, of course, the outstanding tie in the John Player Special Cup. With 3 semi-finalists already known, the 4th berth in the semi-finals rested between the 2 clubs, Bristol and Leicester. So, the story of the match, from the Memorial Ground, Ian Robertson.
Leicester are through again to the semi-final of the Cup, thanks to the rampant pack spearheaded by Dean Richards and the all-round skills of the wily Les Cusworth. In the end, they scored 2 tries. Les Cusworth scored 1, he dropped a goal, and he made a try for Dexter with a glorious kick into open spaces, which laid the Bristol defence wide open. Dusty Hare kicked 2 penalties, although he did miss 8 other kicks at goal, including 2 drop goals from the touchline. It was a well-deserved victory by Leicester, and afterwards, Les Cusworth admitted that the foundations for that win were laid by the pack.
So that means that 3 of this year's finalists are the same as at the semi-final stage last year, with Leicester now away to Wasps, and the other semi-final, Orrell against Bath, and that's the match we'll be covering in 2 weeks' time. But now let's turn our attentions to next week, and round 4, dare I say, of the Five Nations Championship, and I hope that's the only parallel with boxing that we'll be talking about next weekend. What a thrilling weekend it promises to be, with Ireland against France in Dublin. France, of course, bidding for a Grand Slam, only the 4th time in their history. The last was in 1981. And at the same time, 2 countries still chasing a triple crown, Scotland versus Wales at Murrayfield. Well, for a slightly different perspective on what's about to happen, let's go back to Scotland now with Bill McLaren, who's accompanied by the 2 Hastings, Gavin and Scott, as well as John Rutherford.
Gavin, that was some French performance against Scotland last Saturday, wasn't it?
That's right. I don't know what we thought hit us in the first sort of 20 minutes when they scored these tries, and really we had to work very hard at the end of the day, and really all the boys were very tired, and we came off and we felt that we'd given them a good run for their money, and I think the important thing is if we've learned from that, then that's good.
Did you have any trouble with the younger brother in Paris, tell me?
I looked after him actually. I was out in the Champs-Élysées with Scott last week, but I managed to keep him under control.
Great. Scott, you must have been delighted when you saw your big brother come alongside you before that try of yours in Parc des Princes.
Yes, I think I actually shouldn't have been there. I should have been on the other side of the field, but funnily enough, when John got the ball, he just chipped ahead, and Gavin made a real effort to go for it. So when he took it, it was just a nice, easy run-in for me.
That French side are really outstanding, aren't they? What is it about them, do you think? Is it the fact that they get back in defence in great numbers, or the wonderful way they improvise passes? What's special?
I think it is the way they improvise with the pass. I think a couple of times there were a couple of quick loop moves that they did, and they switched the ball so fast. But I think it's when they switch the ball to one side of the park and they bring it back the other way. And by that time, the likes of John, I think a couple of times, was sucked in to take a forward, like Schomp running at him. Douglas Wiley had to move in one. I had to move in one. And then they had the extra man on the outside, and it paid with their wingers getting 4 tries at the end of the day.
It helps Scotland, though, doesn't it, that they're so fit? They're a fit side.
Oh, we are fit. I think we all work together, and we've got a squad session tomorrow prior to the Welsh game. But when we all come together, we all work very hard with each other. We train hard, we sprint hard, and everything we do is, right on the top pace.
Right. John, if I could turn to you, I notice Ireland have dropped Nigel Carr. Now, that surprised me. What was your reaction to that?
Same thing, Bill. I was very surprised. As far as fly halves are concerned, you're always wary of open side flankers, and I've always had some very hard battles against Nigel, but I can see what the Irish selectors are thinking about, because France do have a big back row and they use them a lot, so obviously they're bringing in Spillane to counteract that, but they might lose a bit about the field, because I felt that when we started to get on top against France, we were getting there in numbers, and that's where Nigel Carr could have been such a match winner for Ireland.
Well, you all three, of course, have played against Ireland and France. How do you think that France will fare over there in Dublin? Gavin?
Well, judging from my experience last year, it was a very hard place to play, Lansdowne Road, and I'm sure the French will treat the Irish with the respect that they deserve. Ireland are a very well organised side, and they really do cover the ground very quickly, like the French, and they've got an exciting and fast back division. I think at the end of the day, possibly the back row for France may win the game, but I'm sure it'll be very close. But I would like to see France win, certainly, and then we can say that we've been beaten by the Grand Slam champions.
And what about our match against Wales, Scotland's match against Wales? Scott, how do you think Scotland will fare in that one?
They'll be wanting to go out there and just prove to themselves that they can play out with the wet conditions. And I think we'll be looking for a dry day as well, but it could be a cracker of a game once we come down to it.
And John, of course, I suppose the real danger man from the Welsh point of view is your opposite number, Jonathan Davies.
Well, that's right. I watched his heels a few times in last year's game, but I maybe underestimated Jonathan a bit last year, and this year showed that he's a truly wonderful player, and we'll have plans to stop him though.
So plenty to look forward to, and let's hope for a speedy rehabilitation and improved image again for international rugby. 2 great matches in store, the Grand Slam match in Dublin, of course that one will be seen by viewers in Ireland, and the game between Scotland and Wales, well, that'll be live also on Grandstand on Saturday afternoon to viewers in all the other countries. And both games, as always, highlights on Rugby Special next Sunday at lunchtime. Till then, from a very entertaining afternoon here in London, good afternoon to you.
Now on 2, we relive another of the 100 great sporting moments. Arkle, 1964.